Good morning. Welcome to our SoulFullHeart vlog series, day 11.
11.
And we want to dive into the mental area. We're covering the 7 key areas of life that SoulFullHeart gets into. And today's the mental, a recently added category.
Yes. We wanted to acknowledge the mental body and mental capacity without overemphasizing it, so we didn't include it for a while.
Yeah.
Because it's so overly developed.
It tends to be the one that usurps the emotional body. And so I guess we had the question, is it really a key area of life? And
I also think of these areas of life, by the way, as a means for how we filter reality.
Mm-hmm.
So if we look at it from that perspective, our mental body is the primary way we're conditioned to filter our reality. Whereas we actually feel, and that's what we'll talk about today, that it's our emotional body that we are primary filtering life from.
Right.
But that's not what we're supported in. We're conditioned as babies to develop our mental body and label things and talk and communicate. And
to abstract from our emotional body into our mental body.
Mm-hmm.
And anything that we've spent that much time and life in is deeply embedded as a way of life, and it's supported us, it's held us. We're saying very inadequately, but we want to honor that it's been what it has to us over so much of our life.
Right. In an overemphasized way.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things we talk about is, while we appreciate and honor our mind's ability to filter and understand reality, we feel that the mind has been overemphasized and developed in our modern culture. Rather than heart and soul schools, which would offer emotional and spiritual consciousness development, our educational systems focus only on mental development and academic achievement.
Mm-hmm. There's so much that we adapt to out of our survival instinct. How am I supposed to be in the world? As an infant, we're already feeling our way into that. And when we're not supported and watered to be in our emotional body, we abstract into our mental body.
But I have this idealized vision of these heart and soul schools, where you'd have a kid having a tantrum, for example, and it wouldn't be about find your words, it would be about let me feel you.
Mm-hmm.
And that the tantrum would actually land this non-verbal communication that's actually all emotional. And there's a lot going on. There's a lot that they're saying. I was watching, we were at tea yesterday, and I was watching this toddler. I don't even think he was a toddler. He might have been like 11 months old. And he was, there's all kinds of stuff going on because he didn't have words yet. But yet he felt like the most alive being in the room because he didn't have words yet. So every little thing he reacted emotionally to. Like whether the sippy cup was close enough to him, or if he wanted more of the yummy strawberry date concoction,
Mm-hmm.
And he was alive in that, but his mother was embarrassed. He was making too much noise. Her and looked like her mother were both working very hard to keep him contained. And I thought I heard even, what is it you want? Tell me what you want. And it's like, well, just feel him. It's clear he wants more of that strawberry date roll, So that's a perfect example. And then we go into this mental conditioning environment of school, and we spend all of our developmental years within this structure.
As if it's supposed to be our salvation, and really it's to our detriment.
And we're not saying, forget the mental capacity or development, because we wouldn't be sitting here talking to you the way that we can talk to you. But I've had to decondition many things about what my mind learned to develop my heart. And that doesn't mean we become dumb. We become, my mental body is more in alignment with my heart now and my soul, rather than leading the way.
Becoming emotionally fluent. For most people starting out, they'll describe from a mental place what they think they're feeling, rather than having access just to simple raw emotion.
That reminds me of another point, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Most therapies and therapists lead with their mental capacities and insights rather than feeling with their hearts and their souls, which creates a key distinction in how we work with people in SoulFullHeart, as it is the heart leading and feeling the parts, which leads to the most healing.
So the part of us that's primarily invested in a defensive way of relating to life through our mental body goes to a therapist and gets an interchange, an interaction that's based in the mental body. And it fortifies that defensive part, comes up with some new strategies, some new coping mechanisms, some
Maybe
new
even
suppression
mental
mechanisms.
reframings.
Yeah,
Those are very popular.
feel-
Think about it differently and you'll feel about it
that
differently.
even come up in the heading of being enlightening. But it still serves to keep a cap and a wrap on the emotional domain of our humanity.
And you hear from people where I went to a therapist, it wasn't deep enough. It didn't go deep enough. What does that mean? And to me, I had the same experience. I was seeing a child psychologist when I was, I think, by 5th grade. And I saw them off and on, and as an adult as well. And I always felt like I wanted them to feel me more, even as a kid. And I didn't even know what that meant. I remember one of them teaching me a relaxation visualization technique, and it was useful, but I had real terror going on that didn't even get touched. This person was not comfortable going there. And so we offer that. We feel like, we can't say all, but most therapy and therapists are analysts. They're not actually feeling you because they haven't felt themselves. So there's to the degree they have this lots of subconscious wounding and parts they haven't felt, how are they going to feel your parts? We can only go to serve someone where we've gone inside of ourselves. And the parts of us know this, and that's also why I feel it is our false self that takes us to a therapist or a marriage counselor or things like that, because they know they're not actually going to get challenged. They're not really going to have to feel anything, and they're not going to have to really give up anything in another way.
So we've mentioned now how the mental dominates over the emotional from our early childhood. What would the mental look like where the emotional is given supremacy? Then how could the mental, I think it feels like our mental is really quite underdeveloped in another way from the point of view of the emotional having a priority and being in the forefront of our processing of life.
How I would describe that is that I say one of the benefits in this area of doing SoulFullHeart is that your capacity to track what's going on inside of you and your parts greatly deepens and develops, and your capacity to track what's going on with other people. And tracking is mental. You're feeling yourself and you're feeling the other person, but your capacity to put words to it, communicate it.
So then
Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So I'm feeling though that even as we've over-inhabited and overdeveloped the mental, I don't think we've really seen the full flowering of the mental.
That's right. And what our capacities actually are.
I think we're operating at a fraction of the mental.
I agree.
Because the mental's been taxed with running our whole life when it was never designed to be and do that.
Exactly. And that makes me very curious about how we'll experience our mental body. I have noticed my memory gets better and better as I work with parts. It's not necessarily a fixation on the past as it is retaining things. Like, it's not so cluttered with unfelt feelings, so it can actually work better.
Yeah.
The next point I wanted you to talk about specifically was most people, especially men, have overdeveloped mental capacities, meaning they are overly filtering their reality through their mental body rather than their emotional body.
There's definitely been less permission for men to feel. But don't mistake that societal permission for how much feeling we are actually doing in all moments. The desire to shut down our emotions, to be not vulnerable, to go into our man cave where we don't feel, is a deep emotion in itself.
Do you feel men tend to be leaning on the mental body more? And we don't like to generalize, but Women have
It-
more permission in our
it
culture to
feels-
feel.
It feels the whole feminine side. Now there's the men being in touch with their feminine side, because we all have both, enhances that a lot. But yeah, I do feel that.
You felt that for you?
I certainly did. It's an ongoing permission, even between us. There's a polarity, and that I re-permit myself regularly
But I have,
to breathe and go into what am I feeling.
well, I have experienced with you that it's this beautiful blend of mental and emotional. I may go in, I also tend to be more intuitive as well, which I do feel is an aspect of emotional and mental. It's kind of a combination. So I'll kind of go with my gut or go with my impressions or lead that way. But you really have this great blend that I think is an amazing template for men about not usurping or going over what you're feeling, but being able to put words to it. And it's like your mental body surrenders to that.
Yeah. I find my mental body is wanting to take a train or a thought, and then it just it goes so far, and it needs to again surrender to the emotional body. What am I feeling right now? What am I wanting? Is there something I'm not getting? Is there a need that's not being met? Am I hiding something? Is really big.
And not just not going to understanding it,
Yeah.
but going to feeling it.
Could I just transparentize? I'm feeling a little confused. I'm feeling a little bit out of sorts today, or I'm feeling super excited. If I can transparentize that to myself and to who I'm communicating with, and be okay with that.
And being okay with, I don't know what I'm feeling, but there's there's something there.
I can feel a reaction going on inside, or I feel numb. Or those admissions are bringing the emotional body to the forefront in acknowledgement. And it's amazing how the mental body can find its way, having brought that vulnerability. And so in other words, the key to our power is really our vulnerability. And our power, the mental body is meant to serve us with power, but with the both legs in step with each other.
Did you want to say anything more about the academic emphasis?
I just find so much we're taught content rather than context, and canned knowledge, the kind
Mastery. We're taught mastering as well.
Yeah.
Concepts and content.
But without that, again, that bedrock of what am I feeling, what am I wanting, getting in touch with that totally changes your trajectory in the world with knowledge attainment, career attainment, getting down to the root of why you're here and what you want. This totally gets into the place of desire. That desire is not evil, it's not wrong. If you're human and breathing, you are a wanter, and you have desire. And even that thing of suppressing all that desire is a huge disconnect between the emotional and the mental. There's something we're wanting right now doing this video.
Yeah.
If we're in touch with that and feeling that, then we're energizing that and bringing that. If we're trying to hide and suppress that, we're coming out really flatlined, where people are kind of bored. Like there's no amplitude to what you're bringing. It's this flat line, because something in us is
That's
being
what
suppressed.
I experienced. Overly mental people, there's a flat line. They may be giving you information, and especially in the academic world. And this is what was my experience after high school when I went to college. Is I was just bored because I got the need for some academic knowledge, but the filter it was coming through was just so, especially in psychology.
Yeah. So there's a huge...
So flatlined.
In that flat line, there's such a huge underlying worldview being channeled into you, being pushed onto you by the person who's inhabiting that worldview, suppressing themselves. And even though they might be brilliant-minded, there's this whole boatload of other stuff that's coming from the emotional body.
I want to say something about that too. sorry, we have met a few people lately, locally, that are geniuses. I mean, there's this feeling they're creative geniuses, but there's also this feeling of being mentally brilliant. And yet, to the degree they haven't healed themselves emotionally, they have a hard time being in the world. I think it goes either two ways. Either false self creates out of your brilliance a whole lifestyle around it, like you're a professor or you're a teacher or you're so it goes that direction, or it goes in the I don't know how to be in life direction, where even with all of this brilliance, there's no actual sense of how to inhabit your life and be emotionally mature and healthy. So they're usually not, and they're usually not relational.
So
they're not relational.
Their relationship with their brilliance and their genius is not healthy for them.
Right. So it's amazing to feel this capacity that's there, that just in all of the schooling, and I think if this is where the false self goes, they tend to maybe go into school and then reject school, and then they're just sort of waiting for something that can see the genius and let it in, but also feel them first.
So in Soulful Heart, we really want to feel the parts of you that are invested in the mental body, if we're working with you, and also point out to you that when you're trying to access emotion, but you're bringing energy from the mental body, just to say that feels mental. I was challenged by that numerous times in the work I was doing, where someone would say, your energy and your words don't match. Huh? What do you mean my energy and my words don't match? They're so far off my radar.
Right.
But I'm bringing these words, but my energy, my emotional body is bringing this energy, and they don't match.
That happens all the time.
Yeah, it's every day.
Yeah.
But to have it pointed out to you by a mentor is a profound opportunity to feel the difference.
I think for men, this is a big aha for them, because especially men who are in pain about what to do about their pain, you know? So they're really going against this whole conditioning that they need to get it together somehow and understand it or analyze it, and then they'll be fine, or find another technique, or ignore it.
And the journey, I think I'd like to, I know we're pressing time, but the journey I'd like to say it's a journey that starts with awareness of the emotional body,
which is mental,
or consciousness arising. Oh, whoa, the emotional body is much larger and vast. I'm thinking, I'm relating concepts, I'm reading books, I'm talking with my friends, all so much in the mental domain, but whoa, the emotional body is like this whole domain that I'm just trying to find an entry point into. And when you do make an entry into deeply feeling your own emotional body, there is a utterly astounding and profound experience of feeling parts of you in an intimate connection, that my most often experience with it was just deep tears and
no words,
gut-wrenching sobs.
There are no words when you really go into the emotional body. There aren't any, because it's purely emotive.
And having a dialogue with a part of me and holding that part of me's feeling experience of life in whatever domain of my life it was in. And when that part of us gets felt and connected with, life shifts, changes. How you relate to life, how you relate to yourself.
And once you have that opening
external world,
start to have it, then you value it so much more than you did before. You still value your mental capacities, but it's kind of like, I want to get back there again, because back in that emotive reality is where I heal.
And the mental body is then making sense of this after the fact, going, holy shit, this is like it was written like a movie script, and you just can't make this shit up, and yet it's what happened in my life, and wow.
I always feel like after a huge emotive movement that the mental body is trying to catch up and understand and take notes, and that's fine. We as facilitators will do that with you.
Yeah.
But we're also moving you toward those emotive movements, because it's really in that territory where the healing is.
And so our life is structured, has a one-to-one external correlation with our internal reality, not in the mental body, but in the emotional body. A flatline here puts us into a flatline dead-end relationship, a flatline dead-end career.
Connect.
But it's not like you lack something in your thinking, that you need to go and learn something new.
Right.
It's you are about...
You need to feel something new.
You need to feel, you need to feel something new.
Yeah, that's good.
That's it.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you again.
Bye.
Bye.